If someone had told me that love could become the greatest mistake of my life, maybe I would have listened. But back then, all I saw was a fairy tale. All I felt was happiness bubbling inside me like a fresh spring. His name was Ka. The first time I saw him, I was at a wedding in the city. He stood across the hall, dressed in a crisp white agbada, his presence so commanding that even the chandeliers seemed to bow to him. Women stole glances, men whispered, but it was me his eyes settled on. When he walked up to me, my heart almost jumped out of my chest. "Hi," he said, flashing a warm smile. "You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." I laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a line he must have used 1,000 times. But the way he looked at me, soft and sincere, made me believe it was real. From that moment, Ka was everywhere. He sent flowers bigger than my kitchen table. Gifts arrived at my parents' doorstep almost daily. Phones, jewelry, groceries, even a small car for my father. My whole family adored him before I could even process what was happening. It felt like a dream, like the ones little girls have where a rich, handsome prince plucks you out of your ordinary life and calls you his queen. When Ka proposed after just 3 months, my mother cried tears of joy. "God has blessed you, my daughter," she said, hugging me tightly. Even my friends could not hide their envy. "You are so lucky," they said over and over. On the day of our wedding, I stood in a lace gown so delicate it looked like it could melt under the sun. Ka looked at me with a smile that made my knees weak. I believed, with every beat of my heart, that I was the luckiest woman alive. But later that night, as we settled into our new home, a mansion so grand I got lost twice, Ka pulled me close, kissed my forehead, and said something that made my stomach tighten just a little. "My love," he whispered, "you are free to go anywhere in this house, but there is one room, one door you must never open." I laughed, thinking he was teasing. But when I looked into his eyes, there was no smile there, only a seriousness that chilled the air between us. "Promise me," he said firmly. And because I was a fool in love, I nodded without thinking twice. If only I had known that behind that door, my fairy tale was already bleeding. At first, life in Ka's mansion felt like a dream I never wanted to wake up from. The house was breathtaking, marble floors that seemed to glow under my feet, staircases that curved like something out of a royal movie, and rooms so big I often found myself spinning around just to take it all in. Servants came and went, always polite, always smiling. I barely lifted a finger. Food appeared at my table. Clothes, perfumes, shoes. Everything was more than I had ever wished for. And Ka was perfect. Gentle, loving, attentive. He treated me like the center of his world. But soon, I started noticing the little things. The mansion, for all its beauty, was eerily quiet once the sun went down. No laughter, no footsteps, no distant sounds of life. By 6 p.m. sharp, all the domestic staff would quietly pack their things and leave, leaving me and Ka alone in a house too big and too silent. When I asked Ka about it once, he smiled tightly and said, "I value my privacy, my love. I like peace at night." It made sense, I told myself. Rich people had their ways. Still, sometimes in the middle of the night, I would lie awake in our enormous bed, staring into the darkness, listening to the heavy silence press against the windows. There was also the matter of that door, the one Ka told me never to open. It was at the far end of the east wing, a plain-looking wooden door with a silver handle. Nothing special about it, except that Ka always made sure it stayed locked. I only saw him go near it once, late one night. He slipped inside quietly, thinking I was asleep. When he came back to bed, he smelled faintly of something strange, something metallic and old, like rusted iron and smoke. My heart told me to ask questions, but my mind, foolish and in love, kept whispering, "Trust him. He is your husband. He loves you." Then there were the dreams. Almost every night, I started dreaming of women crying, soft at first, like whispers under my pillow, then louder, faces I did not recognize, bellies swollen with life, eyes full of fear. Waking up drenched in sweat, I would find Ka sleeping peacefully beside me, as if no ghosts haunted his dreams. One afternoon, I tried calling my mother just to hear a familiar voice, but Ka had an odd reaction when he saw me on the phone. "Don't stress yourself, love," he said, taking the phone gently from my hand. "You should rest more. This is your new home now. Your past life is behind you." His words were soft, but I heard the command hidden underneath. I began to realize I was being cut off from the world, one thread at a time. Still, I fought the fear. I smiled when Ka smiled. I nodded when he spoke of love and loyalty. I wore the jewels he gave me. I sat in the golden dining room and ate the finest meals with trembling hands. Because deep down, something inside me, something I refused to admit, was already screaming. And every time I walked past that locked door, the scream grew louder. The day everything changed started like any other. Ka left early for one of his business trips, his goodbye kiss light on my forehead, his cologne lingering long after he walked out the door. I watched him leave, standing at the massive glass window, my heart heavy with a fear I could no longer explain away. Then I saw it. On the kitchen counter, carelessly forgotten, lay his key ring, and among them, a small silver key that looked older than the rest. I stood frozen, my mind racing. The forbidden door, the one I had been warned never to open. Before I could think twice, I grabbed the keys with shaking hands and hurried towards the east wing. My bare feet barely touched the cold tiles as I moved, fear and curiosity battling in my chest. When I reached the door, I hesitated. Maybe I should leave it alone, a small voice inside me pleaded. But another voice, louder, braver, pushed me forward. I slid the silver key into the lock. It fit perfectly. With a soft click, the door swung open. At first, it was too dark to see anything. The air was thick, stale, and carried a sharp, bitter smell that made my stomach turn. I stepped inside, my fingers fumbling for the light switch on the wall. When the room flooded with dim, yellow light, my blood froze. 6 coffins. 6 identical, polished black coffins lined up neatly along the walls, like a grotesque shrine. My feet moved on their own, drawing me closer. My throat was so tight I could barely breathe. I touched the first coffin with trembling fingers and lifted the lid, heart pounding so loudly it was the only sound in the room. Inside lay the corpse of a young woman. Her face was eerily peaceful, as if she were only sleeping, but her body told a different story. Her belly was swollen with pregnancy. Death had frozen her forever in that state. "No," I whispered, stumbling backward. I opened another coffin, then another, each one the same. 6 young women, 6 swollen bellies, 6 lives stolen mid-bloom. I covered my mouth to muffle the scream that rose from deep inside me. My knees buckled, and I sank to the floor, gasping for air. It hit me all at once. Ka had been married before. Not once, not twice, 6 times. And each wife, pregnant, had ended up here, preserved, hidden. I was supposed to be the 7th. My vision blurred with tears as the terrible truth gripped my heart like a vice. Ka did not love me. He was never building a future with me. He was preparing me for a death I did not even know I was walking towards. I stumbled to my feet, fumbling for the door. I had to get out. I had to run. But when I turned, standing in the doorway was the last person I wanted to see. Ka, and he was smiling. I froze, standing there with my hand still gripping the doorframe. Ka leaned casually against the wall, his arms folded across his chest, as if he had been waiting for me all along. His face wore the same gentle smile he always gave me, but now it looked wrong, twisted, evil hiding under softness. "So," he said quietly, "finally know." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. I wanted to scream, to run, to disappear, but my legs would not obey. My mind raced through 1,000 thoughts at once, none of them making sense. Ka stepped into the room, moving slowly like a predator calming his prey. He shut the door behind him with a soft click that sounded louder than a gunshot in the suffocating silence. "I warned you, UK," he said, his voice low and almost sad. "You should have trusted me. You should have stayed away from this room." I shook my head, finally finding my voice, though it came out in a broken whisper. "Why? Ka, why?" He smiled again, but there was no kindness in it now, only darkness. "I had no choice," he said. "Years ago, I made a pact. Wealth, power, everything I ever wanted. But the price," his eyes flickered toward the coffins. "The price was life. Young, pure, pregnant life." Tears blurred my vision. My knees trembled. "You killed them," I choked out. "You killed your wives, your babies." Ka laughed softly, almost tenderly, as if I had misunderstood something simple. "I did not kill them," he said. "The gods collected what belonged to them. I only obeyed." I stumbled back until my shoulder hit the cold wall. My heart slammed against my ribs, wild and desperate. I had to get out. Now, or I would be the next coffin in this horror room. Ka saw the fear in my eyes and took a step closer. "You were supposed to be the last," he said, his voice dropping into something heavy and final. My freedom was almost complete. He reached out a hand, and that simple gesture, so familiar yet so monstrous now, snapped something inside me. I turned and ran. I dashed past him, my feet slipping on the tiled floor. I heard him curse behind me, heavy footsteps chasing me down the long corridor. My lungs burned, but I did not stop. Down the stairs, through the grand hallway. I yanked open the massive front door with all the strength I had left and threw myself into the night. The estate was almost silent, the air thick and heavy. I screamed for help, my voice shattering the calm darkness. "Somebody help me, please!" Lights flickered on in nearby houses. A dog barked somewhere far off. But Ka was faster. I heard him gaining on me, heard the way his footsteps slapped the ground harder and harder, like a storm coming closer. Then I saw him, the night guard, standing near the security post. I ran straight to him, hope blooming painfully in my chest. "Help me," I cried out, grabbing his arm. "Please, my husband. He wants to kill me." The guard looked at me, then over my shoulder at Ka, who was slowing down, his face blank. The guard nodded calmly, and pulled me behind him. "You are safe now," he said. For a moment, I believed him. I allowed myself to breathe. But as we walked toward the security office, I noticed the guard secretly sliding his phone from his pocket. His thumb moved quickly, typing something. Something about the way he moved, the way he glanced at me from the corner of his eye. A cold shiver ran down my spine. I realized the truth too late. I was not safe yet. The moment I saw the night guard texting, my heart dropped like a stone into cold water. Something in my spirit screamed at me to run, but my legs felt heavy, as if fear itself had chained them to the ground. "Stay close," the guard said, forcing a small smile that did not reach his eyes. I nodded slowly, pretending to trust him, pretending to believe I was safe. But every step we took away from the main road and deeper into the estate made my chest tighten more. I glanced behind me. Ka was no longer chasing. He was standing far back under the dim light, hands in his pockets, like he already knew how this night would end. We reached a dark corner between two tall buildings, and the guard suddenly turned to face me. "You should not have opened that door, madam," he said softly, almost sadly. The air left my lungs. I staggered back, but he grabbed my arm roughly. His grip was firm, his eyes cold. "Let go of me," I gasped, struggling against him. He held me tighter and pulled out a small walkie-talkie from his belt. "Sir, I have her," he said into it, voice low and clear. It was Ka on the other end. I could hear him respond calmly. "Bring her to the warehouse. Make sure she does not scream too much." A scream built up inside me, raw and desperate, but before I could let it out, the guard clamped a rough hand over my mouth. Tears blurred my vision. My whole body trembled. I was not just fighting for my life anymore. I was fighting for my soul. As he dragged me toward a narrow path leading to what looked like an abandoned warehouse, my mind raced. I remembered the self-defense lessons my friend forced me to attend last year. At the time, I thought they were a waste of money. Now, they were my last hope. As we moved into the shadows, I bit down hard on the guard's hand covering my mouth. He yelled and loosened his grip. Without thinking, I swung my elbow into his stomach with all the strength I could muster. He staggered back, cursing, giving me just enough time to break free. I ran blindly into the night, my breath burning in my throat, my heart screaming louder than my feet slamming against the ground. Ka was shouting behind me, furious now. The guard was chasing me too. I did not know where I was going. I just knew I had to find light, find people, find anyone who could hear my cries. Through the misty estate, I spotted a moving car approaching from the main gate. Summoning every last shred of strength, I ran into the road and waved my arms wildly, throwing myself in front of the car. The tires screeched loudly as the driver slammed on the brakes, barely missing me. A woman stepped out, eyes wide with shock. "Please," I sobbed, collapsing at her feet. "Please help me. My husband wants to kill me." She did not waste a second. She pulled me into her car and locked the doors. Behind us, Ka and the guard froze, caught in the headlights, their plans crumbling. The woman sped off, driving fast toward the main road, away from the mansion, away from the nightmare that almost swallowed me whole. As I sat trembling in the passenger seat, I looked back through the rear window. Ka was shrinking into the darkness, powerless for the first time. I did not know where I was going yet, but for the first time in months, I knew one thing for sure. I was not his prisoner anymore, and I was ready to fight for my life.